And so I'm so happy to bring on Hamil Harris, Sam P.K. Collins, and James Wright, our fearless soldiers with swords, because it's not just pens. They have laptops, they have cell phones, they use every tool that they can to make sure that we get those stories told. So welcome to Win TV, you all.
Amen. It's great to be here.
Welcome. Very happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Hamil, we're going to start with you because, we know you're a classroom teacher up
That's
there
right.
at John Carroll High School, and you've got your class out to lunch, and they're going to be coming back quickly.
Oh, yeah. In fact, we have the Informer. Just want you to know that at Archbishop Carroll right now, we are so excited about having the awards and stuff. And I just have one of my awardees right here. This is Clyde. He's a photographer, journalist.
All right.
So we're in the trenches right now, and he's also a baseball player. Everybody at Carroll plays sports, so you gotta be something. But anyway, Clyde is very good. Won one of the Jim Vance Awards, so he's up and coming. So look out for him.
All right, Clyde. Congratulations to you, and thanks for giving us a walk on.
Thank you.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Good luck to you. Hamil, thanks for doing that. We love having young folks with us sharing on this show. But we are now we're not post pandemic yet. We're not there. But when we went into the pandemic, the houses of faith shut down. They found new ways to reach their congregations, which may have grown exponentially because of the pandemic and the digital way that they were reaching their audiences. But you've done a piece, one on Willie Wilson.
That's right.
I call it his third retirement, but his retirement.
I think this is the final one, but he's not going for it. But what's amazing about Reverend Willie Wilson is his daughter. His daughter is taking over, and I see we have someone special over my shoulder. But anyway, but again, Anika Wilson Brown is a mother. She's a twin. I mean, she has twin children. She has another person, and she's now the pastor of Union Temple Baptist Church. That's one of the biggest churches, most politically active churches in the DMV, and so that's one. But we're looking at change, not just with Union Temple, but also, again, we see Dr. Ward in the background. This is an active newsroom, so that it's not just teaching, it's active. Also tonight, T.D. Jakes will be at Kingdom Fellowship, and speaking at Reverend Watley. And they have a new corporate church that's opening up. It opened up last weekend. And so you have a lot of change where you have ministers who did not stop, but they grew. And so I think it's an exciting time for the churches. And I turn it over to James or other people, but there's a lot going on right now.
I know you're trying to get, is Dr. Ward
Dr.
there?
Ward is right here.
Tell her to show her face for
Denise,
a minute.
Denise Rolark Barnes, she is very busy. She had a press conference here. So again, this is my boss, and this is Dr. Shevry Ward, and she come right here. Dr. Ward is here.
Hello, Denise. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good. We can't really see you, but there you are. Great. Thank you. Since we borrowed Hamil for a minute, I know he's supposed to be in class, but we wanted to talk about a couple things. But congratulations to a successful year of the program that you have there, and with the graduates and the awards this past Friday. It's got a lot of publicity, and we were glad to join you.
Thank you so much for doing a story on our kids and our program here. And hello to everyone else that's on the call.
Yeah, Jim Vance was, we admired him, and we're glad that you have that broadcast studio there. We're going to get you on because we want to talk about that.
Okay.
All
right. You guys have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Camille, go back to work.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so James, Sam, this has been quite a busy month. It's going to get busier now that people are out and about. We want to start with you, Sam, to talk about education and DC public and charter schools. You did a great story that really bubbled up well this week about a young woman who dropped out, had some literacy issues, and is now actually doing extremely well. Give us some background on that, Sam, and unmute yourself. Great.
Yes, the story you're referring to made the front page. Very excited to say it followed a young woman, last name Brightwell. She transferred. Well, she's at the age of 27, 3 children, She wants to eventually become a CNA, but found that her reading stamina wasn't quite where it needed to be, and
What's a
that
CNA, Sam?
certified nursing assistant.
Okay.
So people who take care of elders and other people who need care in hospitals or even one-on-one care at home. But in speaking with Ms. Brightwell, I found that she never initially had a love for reading. She couldn't quite stand it. But at Goodwill Excel Charter School, which is located in Northwest, she had a chance to read text that was relevant to her life and speak with teachers who had similar struggles, but found their way eventually getting their high school diplomas and going to college. And the exciting thing about Goodwill Excel Academy is that students who attend there don't get GEDs, they get high school diplomas. So during the interview, I had an opportunity to learn about the difference between the two. Not necessarily the difference, but the difference in how colleges and post-secondary institutions see it. So at Goodwill Excel is very particular about awarding high school diplomas as well as giving students a chance to get college credit or some certification in the trade. And the young woman who I spoke with, she said that before she attended the school, she often had a hard time reading job descriptions for applications. So when she eventually did get the job and they asked her to do something, she was just taken aback. And the program that they have at the school involves, once again, reading relevant texts. So they were reading, if I recall correctly, Between the World and Me, and they were even reading a book by George Takei about Japanese internment camps during World War II. So, and along with that, you get vocabulary acquisition, and you also get just an opportunity to talk, reflect, and to see yourself in the stories, which makes reading all the more fun.
This is exciting. I know that education, James, I wanted to bring you into this piece of the story that, you've been covering the races across the city, the District of Columbia. Sam, I know you probably peeked in on some of that as well. What's happening? I mean, what is the conversation among those in this race about education in the District of Columbia and what they are proposing to do to improve the quality of education for DC students? James?
Well, thank you, Denise. I'm really happy to be here. From what I'm hearing in the many forums that I attend and watch virtually is that everybody wants to improve education. But if you ask someone in Ward 8 what that means, you would get one thing. And if you ask someone in Ward 3, you would get another explanation. One thing is clear is that the people in Ward 3 have expressed the fact that they're tired of their schools being overcrowded and something should be done about that. And when you talk to people, particularly east of the river, they want their schools to be reinvigorated and they want kids to come to their neighborhood schools and don't want to have to go across Rock Creek Park to go to school. But it would seem the school system is not investing enough in schools in Ward 7 and Ward 8. And this is what the residents there want, the parents and residents there want in the schools in Ward 7 and Ward 8, more investment.
Sam, and you're on the ground in some of these schools. I know you've done a piece on Johnson Middle School and some of the challenges there. Are parents actually engaged or focusing on this election at all? Do you know how that, and of course I know there's going to be an election for a new DC Teachers Union president coming up soon. Whether it will be new or not, there's an election coming up soon. But how much is the politics involved in the conversations you're having with parents and teachers?
I would say teachers are more involved than parents from what I can see when it comes to aspects of the election that parents are involved in. I would say it permeates beyond education. Of course, education is the glue that holds it all together. But when you're speaking with parents, they're more concerned with public safety and they're concerned with extracurricular activities for their children, which often pours into the schools. As far as educational issues, two key ones that come to mind that I've heard over and over again in the debates is the issue of mayoral control and the issue of public versus charter schools. With public versus charter schools, especially when it comes to Ward 7 and 8 and your middle schools. There's a concern that we're not investing enough inside the public schools and that charter schools are able to expand on the eastern side of the city with impunity and shut down at whichever point. So there's that issue. And then when it comes to public schools, we're speaking about mayoral control once again and about transparency in the way that things are carried out. And this exacerbated throughout this school year, the first school year that we had students in the building full time, with COVID at one point, getting very, just getting very prominent. Yeah. So there's an issue of, the next mayor, or if Mayor Bowser gets a third term, what is to happen with the state of schools in relation to the mayor? And if we don't have mayoral control, should the state board step inside, or should there be another mode of control? And what role does OSSI play in all of this? So you have two camps that are involved in that question. One camp that remembers 20, 30 years ago when DCPS was in different shape and the state board had control. And then you have another camp, which includes teachers and parents, who are very tired of not being able to do what it is that they want to do, and are tired of having an executive office they're saying is not responsive.
Wow. I'm going to jump subjects for a minute. That's something I know you both will be following, one from the education standpoint as well as the political standpoint. We've got a primary coming up. So I know that that's becoming a hot issue. And James, you'll be moderating a panel on Saturday, I think with the at-large members of the council, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
The Ward 5 members.
Ward 5 members.
At the Queen's Chapel Civic Association, which will be at the Union AME Church. I forget, Union Wesley AME Church.
Yeah. So, speaking of Ward 5, good gosh almighty, what has happened? One, we are hearing the news that the DC Court of Appeals affirmed the DC Board of Elections decision that will not, or actually kicks Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie off the ticket to run for Attorney General. What's been going on with that, James, and how has Councilmember McDuffie responded? Now he's not eligible to run for Attorney General. He's no longer the Ward 5 council member, can't run for that office. What's up over there?
Well, see, there's been a great deal of discussion even before the DC Court of Appeals made its decision about the Kenyon McDuffie controversy. There's this good discussion about the establishment didn't want him in that position because he was too strong on civil rights. He was too progressive. So they engineered this process in which they questioned his qualifications. Now, the DC Court of Appeals, as you alluded to, Denise, said that he cannot serve as Attorney General and run as Attorney General because he was not actively engaged in the practice of law for 5 to 10 years. And that is in the statute. That is not a Kenyon McDuffie problem. That is a problem with the DC Council when they initially drew up the statute. Now, what he has to do now, and what he is doing, I should say, is that he wants to take the matter from the 3 judges that make that decision to the whole Court of Appeals to consider this. And we'll have to see where that goes. Politically, he does have options. He can run as an independent for his Ward 5 seat in November. I don't know how that'll come out, but that is an option that he has. And of course, because he's a lawyer and he's well known, he could get on with a nonprofit or teach law. But the point is what really upsets people is because this is another example of why we need democracy in the District of Columbia, because an unelected board selected him out of the process, and people are not happy about that at all.
Yeah, so you covered a rally, I think, this week, if I'm not mistaken, with folks. I understand former council member Bill Lightfoot was scheduled to participate. Some of the former council members were there. You had community activists, Ron Moten, and some others. It's all across the board. But I'm curious about what those council members who may have been on the council when the Attorney General's position was created are saying about how this law has been interpreted.
Saying, and I'd like to include Council Chair Phil Mendelson on this, that was not the intent of the statute. The statute was not intended to keep a Kenyon McDuffie off of the ballot for Attorney General. They didn't write it that way. They didn't legislate it that way, as the opinion stated, the DC Court of Appeals opinion stated, but that was the consequences of it. What I think is going to happen is two things. If I were Kenyon McDuffie, I would just go ahead and give it a shot and see if I can get on the ballot through emergency legislation. He would need 9 votes to do that. I don't know whether he has 9 votes, but I would give it a shot anyway. But the thing is that they've got to revise that statute in terms of qualifications for Attorney General. And there are some people who are saying that 5 to 10 year requirement was really designed to keep an establishment lawyer in that particular position.
So we've kind of run out of time. We had quite a few things we wanted to get into this segment, and I let it go a little bit long, but I appreciate all that you all brought in. Just a quick update. What are you going to be working on for the month of May, Sam?
For the month of May, we're looking at Teacher Appreciation Week, and we're looking at how teachers are feeling in the classroom. There's one particular program that's been around since before the pandemic that encourages teachers and even helps them look inside themselves to figure out how they are aligned or not aligned with their places of employment. That's one story I'm working on. I'm also following some state board races. There are some announcements that are going to be made within the next week or so. And I'm also looking further into Howard University's search for its next president. And we also have Taraji P. Henson, a former HU student, making a commencement speech. So you might very well see me down there providing coverage.
Former HU student and native of the DMV. So
definitely.
That's a wonderful choice. James, what about you?
Well, I'm going to continue to follow the mayor's race and the council races that are taking place. Plus, there is the budget, our $19.5 billion budget that needs to be deliberated and voted on. And of course, we're still dealing with ANC redistricting. So there's plenty of things for me to do for the month of May.
All right. Thank you so very much. I'll also add that you can see James with in the mornings on Let It Be Known with Stacey Brown on the Black Press USA channel at 7:30 every morning. Is that correct, James?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. And I have my orange juice every morning. I have my orange juice.
All right, that's great. Sam, James, thank you very much for being with us. We'll see you. Well, we'll see you probably in between, but we certainly will see you when we get together for our reporters talk. So have a great weekend and don't work too hard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty. Okay, thanks.